James 5, verse 7. Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. It's interesting here how James, half-brother of Jesus, tells us to look to a role model that we often don't consider, and that is that of the farmer. And he gives the image of the farmer just sitting back, waiting for the land to produce the crop. Now you and I both know that the farmer had a role to play in that had the farmer not planted the seed, he would have no reason to sit back and wait. And yet now that he has done his work, as he's done what his hands can actually do, and as he continues to work to make sure it's getting the irrigation that it needs, the soil is taken care of, in the midst of all the work that he's doing, there's another concept that's going on. He has to now wait until the crop begins to appear. Notice a very key principle of what it means to be a farmer. In part, you have to have a faith in the unseen, a belief that below the surface there is activity taking place that you don't really control, that you might have put into place, but you've tapped into the creative resources of this earth and that seed, and you've wedded the two together. But now that that has happened, you have to have a faith to stand back, to say, I trust that something is going on below the surface, even though I don't see it, and to continue to live by the process and the belief that that is taking place. So much of that is the Christian life. You and I tend to overvalue that which is seen and then make these judgments based on what our eyes actually perceive and see in the moment. And the problem is our eyes are easily tricked, and we forget to understand that God is so often at work behind the scenes in ways you and I can't even begin to imagine. And yet the farmer can't have that perspective. He has to do what he knows is right and then have this trust that underneath the surface, something else is taking place. And as it needs to, it will begin to appear. But until that day comes, I'm just going to keep on believing that it's actually happening. Let me encourage you today. God is at work behind the scenes. If you're trusting him, he's at work within you, even though if you can't see it yet at this moment. I was watching a football game during this last football season, and this player had Romans 3:23 underneath his eye black, and midway through the game, he actually punched somebody. How funny is that? For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Bam! I'm going to prove it to you right now. Now, it'd be easy to look at that player, see the punch, and think, oh, there's no transformation taking place in his life. That's not necessarily true. It's very possible God is clearly at work within his life. It's just taking some time for that inward work to begin to appear outwardly to change his behavior. So just because the punch is wrong as it was, just because the punch is thrown, does not mean that change isn't taking place on the inside. Trust it. Trust it within yourself to keep on about the process that God has placed you in, even if you're not seeing the outward fruits of it yet. Just keep on trusting it, but also trust it with other people, circumstances, and situations. To believe that God is at work behind the scenes, underneath the surface, and though we don't see it yet, we're going to keep on believing and we're going to act in an assumption that that is going on. Imagine the farmer who just fixated on that which was seen, planted the seed, and the next morning, nothing appeared above the surface, and so he thought, well, that didn't work, and then he went on about his life, and he never actually nurtured that soil anymore. It would be absolute foolishness. We understand a farmer has to trust the unseen. Christians should as well. God is at work in this world and in our lives, even when we don't understand it. Have faith today, even in the things you cannot see.